Hello, and welcome to the Quantum Fit Podcast. I'm Taylor, and I am your host. This podcast is all about applying the different principles of quantum physics and quantum biology to your health and fitness. This gives us a holistic view of how different environmental factors, such as sunlight or cold, play a major role in your overall health. So I won't just be talking about diet or exercise and developing good habits. If you want to really make lasting changes on how you feel, think, and act, then I'd recommend you try to listen closely and have an open mind to what I have to say. Every day I'll be hitting you with a quick 7 to 15 minute long podcast. I keep it short like this because it makes it both informative and to the point so that you don't feel quite so overwhelmed with information. Also, currently I do not do any kind of advertisements. So instead, I ask that you share this podcast with a friend or family member if you enjoyed the message and gained something from it. I want to be able to spread quality and easy to understand content that everyone can take and use in their own daily lives. I would highly appreciate it. All right, on to today's episode. Are psychedelics a good idea? This is going to be an interesting episode for a lot of you, I think. First, I want to admit that I probably have a fairly strong bias when it comes to psychedelics and how they should be used. I'm not in any way against them. I think they should be fully legalized and well regulated so they can heal people with serious neurological problems. But they need to be treated with respect. The problem is that there are those who blindly use them without any regard for how our brains are designed to work. These wannabe pseudo-spiritual gurus out there, in my opinion, are extremely ignorant and delusional. I'm sure you have a fairly good idea about the type of people I'm talking about. Some of them are fairly big on, Facebook, Instagram, that stuff. Anyways, it's pretty obvious that they're clueless or just don't care about light and EMF and how deeply they affect us. I know this because some pretty obvious reasons. Most of them don't block blue light from the skin and eyes. They don't speak anything about EMF. And many of them, even though, they can all afford it, they live within densely populated 4G, even pre-5G cities, even though they could afford getting out of them. So, and like I've talked about in many episodes previously, this is all going to lead to very low dopamine levels. If they have low dopamine levels, that means they aren't going to be capable of doing the highest levels of critical thinking. End result, they give bad advice. For these people, that means recommending psychedelics as a way to open your mind and other garbage. Trust me, I used to think taking these drugs with some consistency, or, regularly taking them, I don't know how often, would be, maybe a really, really good thing for your brain and sense of well-being, but that opinion has long since passed. Psychedelics are some of the most powerful tools for humans. Magic mushrooms, acid, and, whatever others, they're really good for those people that have, really messed up brains. And I would describe how they actually work as simplifying how it works, I suppose, is they short circuit the current wiring in someone's brain. So it stops bad patterns from running, at least momentarily. So then they're able to sticking with the metaphor, fix their own wiring, be their own electrician for their brain, so they can actually create a different reality for themselves. So alcoholics, people with PTSD, extreme depression and other issues can definitely be cured through psychedelics. I mean, you'd be surprised as to how much research is actually going into it right now through nonprofits. Some of the results, they're pretty crazy. I mean, massive turnaround again from serious neurological issues within very short time periods. Sometimes it's just a few uses, working with someone, and they're able to turn someone almost all the way around. Pretty crazy stuff. But the problem is that too much of a good thing is a bad thing. I can't say I have personal experience with consistent use of any psychedelic, but when I look at people who do, they tend to follow the trend of acting like those pseudo-spiritual guru types. It's like, I don't even know, they're always smiling, talking and thinking about abstract things that are hard to actually put to practical use, assuming it even has any practical use. It's this problem of just talking about these great big ideas and things like all the time, like constantly, but there's no benefit from it. There's no use. They're not taking it and using it in real life. So it's kind of, what's the point in wasting all your time talking about it, thinking about it all the time if you don't do anything with it? And again, these people, they ironically tend to have really big egos, even though they claim that the psychedelics help with reducing it. I find that the people that take it, often it's actually the opposite result. And they're always talking about practicing being calm and focused on the present. But there's a problem with that. It's not good to be at peace all the time like that. I always have liked this comparison. Sit in your home doing nothing but feeling connected to the universe. If you do this long enough, sooner or later, people will come in, they'll kick you out, and they'll take your stuff because you aren't paying the bills. So you can't just be calm and peaceful all the time. Like, some of these people try to say, that, you're stressing out about things too much. You need to take it easy and, relax more. But the problem is, I'd say that people are relaxing too much. They're not taking enough action to actually fix, and change their environment so that they're naturally more relaxed. They need to take more action, not less. So that, that's a big problem I have with, the idea behind taking psychedelics a lot. I feel like it tends to push people into that kind of disconnected mindset, I guess I would call it. But besides that, messing with your neurotransmitters all the time isn't a good idea. Pumping your brain full with serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and whatever other neuron signals on a regular basis, that's going to lead to issues. It's going to mess with your neuroreceptor sensitivity. So, it can either be hypersensitive or hyposensitive. So, either it's going to respond well or not respond, very well or at all to those different signals. And then, you could even run into, potentially wiring neurons in ways that the brain isn't normally designed for. You kind of build up weird circuits in your brain. At least that's what I think of anyway. Again, when I think of the people that, when they do it all the time, they end up getting into this peaceful and always smiling, like this disconnect where it's like they're not staying present, with reality. They're not actually focusing on the world around them, So I feel like it actually literally does mess with the wiring in their neurons in some way that it's just not good. And of course, I'm not an expert on psychedelic use per se, but I have a solid understanding of how brain chemistry is designed to work. Hormones are pumped out at regular times according to the circadian rhythm. Anything that messes with this natural timing pretty much, always comes at a price. So, and that price is stress of some kind on the body, the system as a whole. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that, taking, psychedelics on a regular basis. And then I suppose that would include marijuana as well, since it is, somewhat, well, I guess it technically is a psychedelic. So, yeah, but anyway, I wanted to bring up a counter argument to my opinion. Thought it'd be useful to bring it up. Is medicine men and shamans. So, they would, and as far as I know, still do take psychoactive plants on a regular basis so that they can enter what they call the spirit world. Of course, it doesn't matter if you believe in the spirit world or spiritual stuff or anything like that, but what does matter is that these people had very specific positions within their society where they did, trip and got high all the time on these plants, and, they claimed that it would help them learn to heal others. In some cases, there's claims of that's how they learn to use plants in a specific way to come up with a new remedy. I mean, hey, there might be something to it. I don't know. And also, especially before any connection with modern civilization, these shamans would have been far more connected to nature than we could even imagine. That, of course, means that their cells would have incredible amounts of both structured water and cellular voltage. My own theory is that having this superior state of health allowed the shamans to be able to do or take psychedelics all the time without having the drugs overpower their own neural circuitry and circadian rhythms, like I do believe can happen today with us, since, we're completely out of sync with nature at this point. At least most people, anybody that's in the city, a lot of people that would want to or could be convinced to take psychedelics a lot. Those are the ones, they're completely out of touch with nature. So, I think we pretty much have lost that ability to be able to take them without risking side effects, potentially serious side effects. We don't know. We don't know a lot of side effects long term of taking psychedelics. Also, might be worth bringing up that there's the topic of microdosing. People will microdose like psilocybin, magic mushrooms, for, some say it gives them better eyesight, actually, like really, really enhanced eyesight and creativity, as well as microdosing LSD. It's like extremely small amounts that you can't even tell. You don't actually trip or get a high from it, but you get certain benefits from it. I'm going to save that for another day, though, because I still have to go through a lot more research on that and see what the studies actually say about it. But anyway, I thought it'd just be kind of an interesting topic to dive into for the episode today. So, if you have any questions and comments, you can find me on my Instagram, @RealQuantumFit, my personal Facebook page, Taylor Kelson, or through a voice message across the Anchor app if you listen to me on that. See ya!